Hello, everybody. This is Skip Elsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we watch old 16mm films. And let's see. We've been scanning a bunch of stuff, moving a bunch of stuff. It's nice outside for a little while, so that's why we're excited about.
Hello, everybody. This is Skip Elsheimer.
That's where we're getting more work done because, man, I slow down when it's hot and humid outside. And so it's been nice here in Raleigh, North Carolina. So we've been doing some more work. This is an oldie but a goodie. It's been a while since I've shown this, but we scanned it for the Kids versus Critters show that we did at the Alamo here in Raleigh 2 weeks ago. God, when was it? I don't know. It was in August sometime. Anyways, this is always so good. I root for Squeak every single time. So, enjoy.
Look, on that stump. Is it a chipmunk? It looks like a chipmunk, all right, but it's really a squirrel, golden-mantled ground squirrel. We call him that because of the golden fur around his neck and head. His name is Squeak, Squeak the Squirrel. When a squirrel whistles, others stop and listen. What do you think the whistles mean? All day long, Squeak looks for seeds and nuts. He eats some food where he finds it, and some he carries away to his nest in the ground. A squirrel doesn't like others around when he's eating. He growls and them away. Let's see what Squeak does when he meets a squirrel that he's never seen before. We'll fool him with a mirror. Well, he thinks that squirrel in the mirror will run away, but he just sits and nibbles too. Say, what kind of a squirrel is this anyway? Looks like a squirrel, but he doesn't smell right, does he, Squeak? And he certainly doesn't feel right. Well, a squirrel like that's a waste of time, and Squeak has work to do. If you hold very still, a squirrel will come up and eat out of your hand. Watch how he shoves the nuts into pouches in his cheeks. Look at his long whiskers. Do you think they would tickle your hand? Being good to a squirrel makes him more friendly. Now, Squeak isn't afraid at all. He goes right after that food. If you tie the nut to a string, he grabs it. The more you pull, the harder he pulls. See how he bites off the shell to get at the nut? He knows how to get what he wants. A squirrel is a smart little animal, don't you think so? And when peanuts are hidden in a box, Squeak will poke his head in to get them. He shoves as many nuts as possible into his pouches. See how his cheeks bulge? And still he keeps getting more. His cheeks are so fat, he can't get his head into the smaller box. Have you ever seen anyone work so hard to get what he wants? Now, let's try something new. We found out that a squirrel will work for food, that he can use his paws to reach and pull, and that he can learn simple things like finding peanuts in a box. But can he learn something he hasn't tried before? Let's see how smart a squirrel really is. Here's a glass tube. We'll put some peanuts in one end of the tube. Squeak has been watching us. Do you think he can get the nuts? He goes right to the tube and uses his tongue to reach them. He sees that the best way to get the nuts is from the open end of the tube. But now his tongue isn't long enough to reach those that are left, so he sniffs and licks and scratches. He tries to push his face into the tube, but still he can't get the peanuts that he can see. Shall we help him? All right, let's tie a string to the nut. Do you think Squeak can learn to pull the string? There, he sees where the nut is, but he can't get it. Perhaps at the other end of the tube. No, that didn't work. He moves his nose back and forth under the nut. He even touches the string, but leaves without pulling it. Let's push the nut in a little farther and try again. He's beginning to get curious about that string. See him sniff at it? Watch now. He pulled the string. Was it luck? Well, we'll let him take the nut to his nest and then try it again. This time he faces the tube and pulls the string with his teeth and paws. Here's something that will show you just how well Squeak can learn a lesson. We'll push the peanut far into the tube with a stick. Watch how Squeak acts after he's practiced many, many times. He goes right to the string and pulls hand over hand. He certainly learned that lesson well, didn't he? Here's another test. We'll put a peanut on one end of the string and a stick on the other. We'll hang the two ends through a wire screen. This time, Squeak has to do more than pull the string. He has to pull the right end. Will he find the end with the nut? There must be something to eat around here someplace. Let's put another peanut on the string. Wrong again. He tries so hard that he makes the same mistake over and over. And then he turns to the right end of the string again. Let's change the peanut and the stick around. Will that mix him up? No. He's learned to pull the right end almost without looking. How do you think he does it? The more lessons he learns, the more he gets to eat. Isn't Squeak getting to be a fat little squirrel? Now for another new problem. We'll tie the peanut on the string and hang it so it's out of reach. This time the string is out of reach too. What do you think he'll do now? At first, when he sees the peanut, he reaches for it. He sniffs around and stretches for the nut again. He even holds on to the rod with one paw while he reaches. Now Squeak sees the string, but he catches his tail on it and is frightened away. We'll try again. Now watch him use one paw and his nose to pull the string. He learned how to work the problem in just 2 tries. Here's a different test. We'll hang the peanut out of the squirrel's reach. A string is tied to a box that can be pulled. Can you figure out what Squeak should do to get the nut? There, he got another nut to put away in his nest. Let's try this again. See how he runs back and forth and looks over the problem? He's learned that he can use a string to help him get something he wants. He didn't know how to use a string when he was living out in the woods, did he? Does it surprise you to find out how much an animal can learn? Uh-oh. That time he pulled the box so that it isn't quite under the nut. There, he did it. There'll never be a shortage of nuts for a...
What happened? Why did it stop? Probably ran out of leader. Yeah, Squeak is indeed a squirrel. He looks like a chipmunk, but he is a squirrel. Look it up. Look at the difference between a golden mantled squirrel and a chipmunk. They're very similar, but there's some key differences. So I met someone who had Squeak as a pet. It was David Wexler, whose father was the person who made this film. And so he had Squeak as a young child. And it turns out there was more than one Squeak. And it turns out that this was actually, a lot of this footage was shot for a science presentation by Lester Beck, who did a lot of, he used film a lot. And he actually did another film that I showed on here, which you guys hated, which was about hypnosis, which it had these young college students being hypnotized in the 50s. And you guys hated that film. It was really funny. All right. Did I say Lester Beck? I meant Lester Peck. All right. Here's a film from the 70s, The Hideout. Enjoy.
Put them on the roof. Those are great. Come on, help me get the together. Here, let me have the stuff. Watch out, you hit my finger. Okay. There. Now let's cover it. Go and get some more leaves. Go get some more. get some more.
You're supposed to get some more.
This is my fort, too. I helped to build it. How far are you going to build it out?
About to here.
Yeah, that would be good. Then the rain couldn't get in. We still need a lot more boards.
Where are we going to find some more boards?
I think there's an old board that might have to use. Get more boards. What about this?
No, that's too little. We need something a little bigger. Maybe there's something in here. Hey, look at that. That would be great.
Yeah.
Can we use it?
I don't know. We'll have to ask my mom.
Okay, let's go ask her.
Okay. Mom.
Okay.
Hey, Mom. Could we use the old door in the garage?
No, dear. Your daddy's going to sand that and use it. Well, I'm sorry, darling, but he's going to use it.
Okay. Come on.
Be careful, there's a lot of nails around here.
Do you have any pieces of wood we could use?
Just to have a lot of these short ends here you can have. I was just going to throw them away.
I think they're too little.
What?
They're too little. We need some bigger ones.
Sorry, that's all I got.
How about these?
No, I'm going to use those. Those are for my shelves.
Okay.
Hey, somebody's been in our fort. Hey, get out of there.
I didn't hurt anything. Can I play?
Look, you messed up the wall.
I made a marble trap. Hey, that's neat.
We built this fort, and it's our fort. You'll have to get out.
Leave him alone.
Please, can I play? He's too little.
You wait here. We'll have to talk about it.
Okay.
Come on.
I don't want him to play.
He'll be okay. What if he brings back the board?
Promise to keep it a secret.
Okay.
Let's go tell him.
You can play if you bring back more boards.
And promise not to tell anybody about the fort.
Promise not to. Okay.
I think I can get some more boards.
Hey, let's build a bridge here.
And it goes right here. No.
You think he'll come back?
No, I don't think so. After all, we couldn't find any boards. Hey, look, I found some more boards. Hey, what are you doing? Hey, where'd you get those boards?
We found them.
What'd you say?
I found them down there. I brought some more marbles.
How'd you get these boards so ripped up?
I dragged them across some rocks. These are Mr. Thompson's boards.
So?
We better give them back.
They're all scratched up and muddy, and we didn't take them.
But they're not ours.
Come on, it will make it a really neat fort if we keep the boards.
What if we get in trouble?
We won't. He get in trouble because he took them.
Well, what if he finds us playing here when Scott isn't here?
Well, we just tell him we didn't take them.
He wouldn't believe us.
It'll be okay. Get some leaves and help me cover the board. Come on, go get some leaves. Come on! Help me finish it up. Come on!
There. Look.
Look at this one.
Oh. I need a little honey that keeps
Bending over.
Oh, great.
Everything. go home now. I'll bring some more marbles tomorrow. Okay, bye. Bye. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay. Look at this.
I think I better go home now. Hey, wait for me.
Wait for me. You won't notice that the boards are gone.
Maybe he will.
I don't think so, and even if he does, he won't know that we took them. We'll find some other ones. Come on, wait up.
Here, come on, Sydney. Come on. Now go back, darling. Go back for God's sake. Go on now. You old dear God. Oh.
I've got to tie my shoe. Shirley?
Yeah?
Mr. Thompson was over here and asked me about some boards of his. You haven't seen them, have you? Have you?
No, I haven't.
Okay, honey, that's fine.
See you tomorrow at the fort. Okay? Okay?
See ya.
Come to the Honeycomb Hideout. Come on in, we're gonna play.
What's the prize?
We'll be eating in the Honeycomb Hideout.
Look in the
eating
box.
honeycomb every day.
A silver box crystal ball. It's beautiful. Here's a big one. I got a
Big
small.
one comes in the big box. Small one comes in the small. Bounces like a kangaroo on a pogo stick. Honeycomb crystal ball and honeycomb crystal ball.
One crystal ball free in each specially marked box of post honeycomb and crispy critters.
I mean, you guys mentioned it. You mentioned Honeycomb Hideout, so I had to show my favorite Honeycomb Hideout song, which is one that has a longer version of the song, and where the guy is singing about the bouncy ball and how a big ball comes in the big box and a small ball comes in the small box. And the fact that he sounds so gruff, it sounds like, like, I don't know. It's the name of a band does not come to mind, but that 70s kind of Allman Brothers or whatever, gritty, cocaine and meth fueled, just barely a biker, singing about a bouncy ball. So, all right. So I had not seen The Hideout before, but the filmmaker, George but Quilkin, he did Lost Puppy, and he did The Bike, which are two awesome films. And they're definitely earlier than this film, but it's the same type of thing. It's kids, free range kids, who are barely interacting with adults, and there's some sort of moral dilemma. And The Bike is a perfect example where these kids decide they're going to borrow a neighbor kid's new bike, and they wreck it, and then they have to try to reconcile what they're going to do at the end. So. Yeah, so it's good to know that there's more of these out there. I'm excited to find them. All right. So in the past, I've shown a Moody Institute of Science film called Electric Eel. And this was something that was distributed to schools. And Moody Institute of Science, of course, is part of the Moody Bible Institute. That's my lunch. Don't worry about it. I'll get it. So anyways, Moody Bible Institute, they brought in Dr. Irwin Moon, who was doing this Sermons from Science series, where he was touring around and doing science experiments in church. And then he would kind of do this sermon based on whatever science that you saw. And it was a gimmick to get people to come to see these sermons. And so he continued to do that, had a long career of doing that. And so this film that we're going to watch is called Experience with an Eel, and it is a longer original form of a Sermons from Science film that they edited down to put in to distribute to schools. And what they did is they took out all the mentions of Jesus, and they took out the whole sermon part, and they just left a little bit talking about God and miracles, etc. The wonderful architect. So this is the film in its entirety. It's 23 minutes long, but I love Dr. Irwin Moon. He's awesome. So this is Experience with an Eel. Enjoy.
Come to the honeycomb hideout. Come on and we're gonna play.
What's the prize?
No. All right, let's try that again. All right, Experience with an Eel. Enjoy.
Life seems to be full of questions, doesn't it? Where? What shall I have for breakfast? What am I going to do today? That is, unless you're in the Army, and then a lot of those questions are answered for you. But seriously, all of us face questions, small or large, all of our lives. And unfortunately, there's a tendency for us to become so involved with the little questions that we let the big ones go unanswered. Questions like, where did I come from? Why am I here? Where am I going? The scientific age in which we live has answered a lot of questions, but it has also raised questions in the minds of a lot of people. Questions and doubts concerning our heritage of faith in God. Questions that are vital to you and to me as individuals, to our nation, and to our civilization. Now, on this program, we make an honest effort to answer the questions that you send in, even though some of them get us into some pretty deep water. Here's one. It comes from a student. It says, Dear Dr. Moon, my question is this. If God created all things, and if God is perfect, why are there so many ugly creatures in nature? Well, that's a good question. And frankly, it's one that isn't too easy to answer. But part of the answer is in our point of view. Did you ever stop to consider what the animals in a zoo might think of the visitors to the zoo? It would be interesting to know, wouldn't it? Or if a flock of ducks had a beauty contest, do you suppose duck hunters would win any beauty prizes? No, I don't think so. Point of view is important. And maybe we can get a new point of view here in the laboratory. I'd like you to meet a friend of mine. His name is Linnaeus. Electrophorus electricus, Linnaeus. Here at the lab, we just call him Joe. He isn't exactly what you'd call a raving beauty, is he? But he has his points. For one thing, he's quite a swimmer. Notice the wave motion of the long ventral fin. As the waves travel toward the rear, the eel is propelled forward. Reverse, the waves travel toward the head. How about ascending and descending? Well, to ascend, he merely starts waves at the center, which go both ways. And to descend, the waves start at both ends and work toward the middle. Joe is commonly called an electric eel. But actually, it isn't an eel at all, but a fish of the carp or catfish family. Now, the eel part of his name may not be correct, but he sure came by the electric part honestly. There are stories of cattle, horses, even human beings being killed by the electric shock of eels just like this. In fact, along the Amazon River, ranchers have lost so many cattle that they have what they call electric eel drives. They herd the eels into shallow water and then they kill them with their machetes. Oh yes, they have insulated handles on the machetes. Now, of course, electrical impulses can't be seen. But if we put an electrode at each end of the tank, we can hear the electrical discharge on a loudspeaker. Now, those gentle pulses are part of the eel's radar system. In some mysterious way, he uses them to locate his food. Now, so far as we know, all adult electric eels are blind. They have heavy cataracts on their eyes. Now, eels feed on small fish, and if it weren't for this radar system, they'd starve to death. Now, when an eel locates a fish or when he is disturbed, he puts out what we call the double whammy. This is a terrific shock that stuns anything in the water nearby. The only way you can describe Joe's table manners is to say that they're downright shocking. The electric eel, unlike most fish, is an air breather. It must rise to the surface from time to time for air. For this reason, he can be quite comfortable out of water. Now, the vital organs of the electric eel are all in the front 10 inches of his body. The rest is pure power plant. And believe it or not, he can generate more than 500 volts. Here we have a bank of 36 neon lamps. We'll connect these to our eel electrodes. Now, of course, the eel is designed to operate in water. His electrical system doesn't function too well in air, but even under these conditions, he should give us enough power to light the lights. For some reason, people seem to find it difficult to believe that a fish can put out any considerable amount of power. Even some of the folks here at the laboratory have been just a little bit skeptical about Joe's electrical prowess. And for that reason, we've asked a few of them if they wouldn't help us in an experiment. Will you have the group come in now, please? All right, Dave. You'd stand right over here, please. The rest of you just line up there. You're right over here, Mr. Humphrey. That's fine. Now, Dave, if you'll take this, please, and hold it in your right hand. Lloyd, you hold this one. That's fine. Now, everybody join hands. That's right. Now, you're connected in series. Now, there are 5 of you. That means that each of you will receive just 1/5 of the total voltage of the eel. Now, relax. We'll give you the low voltage tap first. You ready? Did you feel that? Wasn't bad, was it? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to have you meet a group of confirmed believers in electric eels. Thank you very much. Now, where did that electricity come from? Strange as it may seem, the eel's electric tissue is made up of cells very much like the cells that make up the nerves of our own bodies. These cells are called electroplaques. Here is a crude model of one of these cells. Actually, the electroplaque is a tiny battery, 1/25 of an inch thick. Now, in a flashlight, there are 3 cells. Each cell generates 1.5 volts. 3 of them in series produce the 4.5 volts necessary for the lamp. The eel's battery produces 1/10 of a volt. 10 of them in series will produce 1 volt. Well, at this rate, it would take 5,000 of these to produce the 500 volts of the eel. Well, he's got them and then some. An eel like Joe here probably has 250,000 electric cells. Connect them in series, 5,000 of them, and you have the 500 volts. The rest of them are connected in parallel to build up the current capacity. Now, each one of these tiny batteries has an electronic switch controlled by a signal sent along the nerve fiber connected to it. When an eel wants to shock something, it throws hundreds of thousands of switches all at once just by thinking about it. But what to me is even more amazing is that when Joe's battery is run down, he can recharge them, all of them, in just 1,000th of a second. That's quite a power plant, isn't it? The eel's electrical system is composed of 3 main parts. The first is called the large electric organ. This is the source of the eel's main voltage. Now, the function of this organ, called the organ of Hunter, is still somewhat of a mystery, although scientists believe that in some way it works with the large organ in producing the double whammy. This organ, called the bundle of socks, is to me the most wonderful. It has been definitely identified as the source of those mysterious radar pulses. In other words, this is the power plant for the eel's radar transmitter. Now, of course, a radar system must have a receiver also. Do you notice those pits located in rows along the front part of the eel? The other night, I was in New York City talking with Dr. Christopher Coates, director of the New York Zoological Society. Dr. Coates is the world's foremost authority on electric eels. He performed an experiment recently that seems to indicate that those pits are a definite part of the eel's radar receiving system. Now, if Joe is willing to cooperate, we can perform a similar experiment here. The problem is to render Joe's radar system temporarily inoperative. Now, if we paint these pits with an insulating liquid, and if these pits have anything to do with the radar apparatus, Joe will find it very difficult to locate a fish. Oh, he won't go hungry. This is a liquid that will wash off very rapidly. All right, Joe, let's go back into your tank. That's right. Come on out now, like a good fellow. Now, we want to give him a good supply of fish. All right, Joe is surrounded by his favorite delicacy, baby trout. But for the next few moments at least, those fish are just as safe as if there weren't an electric eel within 1,000 miles. You see, Joe's radar is on the blink. Oh, his transmitter's working all right. He's still putting out those radar pulses. Actually, it's his receiver that's not operating. Now, let's think for just a moment about what that means. To a certain extent, we can locate objects with our ears. We can tell roughly the direction from which a sound is coming. But you know, if I were blindfolded, I'd sure hate to try to catch a greased pig simply by listening to it squeal. But this problem, compared to Joe's, is relatively simple. You see, sound travels 1,100 feet per second in air. But Joe's radar pulses travel at the speed of light, 186,000 miles per second. This means that an electric eel's radar system must be able to interpret time difference that is less than 1/1000th of a second. This is so amazing as to be almost beyond belief. Well, Joe, you're quite a fellow. You may not win any beauty contests, but you've given us a lot to think about. And I hope a new point of view. You know, I'm not certain that we've gotten to the bottom of that first question yet. I think there's something more important than Joe's good looks involved. Let's go back and look at that question again. Maybe we overlooked the important part. If God created all things, and if God is perfect, why are there so many ugly creatures in nature? If God created all things. You know, that's a question in itself. Sometimes you can best answer a question by asking one, so let's put it this way. If God didn't create all things. If God didn't create all things, where did Joe get his radar? Where did the electric eel get those hundreds of thousands of tiny batteries with their electronic switches and all the nerve fibers that are connecting them? In fact, where did electricity come from? Or life itself? So far as I know, the only answer is in the first 10 words of this book. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. In the beginning, God. You know, if you have trouble explaining the world around us, starting with God as a creator, just try explaining the world without God. If we go far enough, seeking the answer to any question, eventually we'll reach the place where God is the only answer. Now, here's another question. Dear sir, it seems to me that the Christian faith is unscientific. The scientific method demands that we approach a subject without bias or preconceived ideas. But Christianity begins with the demand that we believe in a God we have never seen. How do you reconcile these facts? Now, in problems of this kind, there's a real danger in oversimplification, both in asking the question and in answering it. Some time ago, a gentleman came up to me and said, Mr. Moon, I'd like to ask you a question. Do you believe there is a God? I said, yes, I do. Then, with the air of one who had settled all the problems of the universe, he said, show him to me. Well, I said, I'd like to ask you a question. Do you believe that you have brains? He said, why, yes. And then, borrowing his same gesture, I said, show him to me. Well, now, probably we were both guilty of oversimplification. You know, somehow I can't help but feel that there's more evidence in the world that there's a God than there is that that fellow has brains. Back to the letter. Maybe we have some oversimplification in the question. It speaks of the scientific method. Now, it's not easy to describe the scientific method in a single sentence. Whole volumes have been written on the subject. Here's one, it's called The Principles of Science, described as a treatise on logic and the scientific method. There are chapters on deductive reasoning, disjunctive proposition, indirect method of inference, induction, combinations, permutations, theory of probability, philosophy of inductive inference, units, standards of measurement. To say the least, the scientific method is quite complicated. I suppose we could describe it roughly by saying that first we approach the facts without bias, without prejudice. As a second step, we develop a theory that seems adequate to explain those facts. And then, the third step, we examine the theory. We test it in the light of knowledge that's been established in other realms of scientific investigation. You know, on the surface, it would seem that there's just no room for faith or belief in the scientific method. Perhaps this is the reason why some are so loud in their demands that we give up our faith in God as unscientific. But you know, I'm not at all sure that faith is unscientific. If a mathematician were to start without a pretty good bias in favor of the general idea that 2 times 2 equals 4, he wouldn't get very far, would he? Or if a physicist or a chemist didn't have faith in natural law, his accomplishments would be quite meager. Recently, I spent several months over in the Middle East. During the time I was there, I made 2 trips down into Egypt. Both occasions, I visited the Great Pyramids of Giza. Now, I didn't happen to meet the gentlemen who built those pyramids. I understand they haven't been around for several thousand years. But the fact that I hadn't seen them did not cause me to develop the theory that they didn't exist, that the pyramids just happened, that those great blocks of stone all just happened to be the right size and the right shape, that they arranged themselves in that form purely by accident. If I developed such a theory, you wouldn't think I was very scientific, would you? No, I'm not certain at all that faith is unscientific. If we take an object that we say is heavier than air and drop it, it falls to the floor. We don't argue about it. We say that's the law of gravity. This book now tells us that faith is the law of man's relationship to God. Well, you say, but you can test that with the book. I dare you to test this. I dare you to try the scientific method in regard to your relationship to the God that made you. Approach the facts and the evidence without bias, without preconceived ideas, and then make an honest test. You'll have your answer. It'll be far more convincing than any answer that I or anyone else could ever give you. Now, I hope we have time for just one more question. It says, Dear Dr. Moon, I have several friends who are religious. While I respect their sincerity, I find them rather smug and unreasonable in their faith. Should we not keep an open mind on every subject? Well, I think the answer is yes. We should keep an open mind on every subject, certainly until we get the facts. Of course, I don't think that the writer of this letter would have any objection to firm convictions, so long as those convictions were well-founded. Do you remember those people in the laboratory a minute ago that had that shocking experience with the electric eel? I imagine that just about now they have a very strong bias in favor of the general idea that electric eels can shock people. Well, they may not trust me again for a while, but I'll guarantee this. They'll be confirmed believers in electric eels the rest of their lives because of the reality of a personal experience. Now, these friends of yours, you say they seem smug and unreasonable in their faith. Have you ever considered this? Maybe they seem smug and unreasonable merely because they are thoroughly convinced, because of the reality of a personal experience with God, an experience which you may not have had. Maybe their minds seem closed merely because once they were truly opened. Now, we've chosen these particular questions for a very special reason. It's because these questions were once very real to me. As long as I can remember, I've had a consuming interest in science. And as I got a smattering of knowledge in a few scientific fields, I began to doubt, wondering even if there was a God. I was continually torn between doubt and faith. Finally, I got to the place where I felt I just had to know. And at that time, I prayed this prayer. Oh, it was a confused prayer, I know that. But I said, God, if there be a God, I've got to know. And if believing is the way to know, I'm willing to believe. And then I made this promise. I said, God, if this doesn't work, if this doesn't change my life, I'll spend my life just as far away from a church and a Bible as I can get. But if it does work, I'll spend my life telling others about it. That's why I'm telling you. It's because he that believeth on this hath everlasting life.
So that was, while it was the Moody Institute of Science, it was really, that film was the Moody Bible Institute. And so it's a sermon. And, he did that kind of weird letters to the Moody Institute of Science, where he talked about things. And some of them he talks about Jesus. But they edited, when they released the Electric Eel film, it was much shorter. It was like 12 minutes, and they talk about God, but they don't, and they talk about ugly creatures that God made, but they don't have those other segments there. So they kind of focused in, and they thought, like, well, this is 1950s, 1960s, everybody believes in God, the Protestants, the Catholics, and the Jews, they all believe in God, so this is cool. We can totally release this to schools. And some schools were like, nope. But some of you didn't like this, so I'm going to show you a palate cleanser. And I would say probably even more of you are going to hate this. This was a project that I did. It used to be like every Thanksgiving I would like work on some weird, obtuse, experimental video project. And so we showed the Hideout, and then I showed a Honeycomb Hideout commercial. Well, this was one that I did where I slowed everything down. So this is Enlarged to show detail. Enjoy. So that's what happens when you digitize hours, several 20 hours of honeycomb commercials, is that my brain starts like, and so that's what that's all about and why that was created when it was. But yeah, there you go. That's what I do. That's how I got into this. Is I wanted to make experimental videos, be a video artist, and I took a weird turn and started collecting films. And turns out I like those films a lot. And some of those films are experimental, and some of those are not experimental, but they look experimental. So that tickles my brain. And thank you for watching and tolerating and learning about electric eels and Squeak the Squirrel and that amazing Hideout movie and about the Bibbidi Bobbidi Ball. If you like what you saw, or at least generally like the concept of what we do, maybe you didn't like this particular show, please hit the thumbs up, hit the like button. You can subscribe. You can donate via the Super Thanks button. That money goes to paying off our storage units so that we can eventually move everything back into our film vault space. You can go to ko-fi.com/avgeeks or patreon.com/avgeeks, or just watch more films on our channel. Thanks so much. We will be back again tomorrow. Everybody have a great rest of your Thursday. We'll see you soon.